Thank you so much for staying on the AM show earlier. You heard the news by Parkusi Shandov. It's now time to bring you the headlines. And as you may be aware, the papers are on a break, most of them till next year. And so we'll delve straight to my Joy Online and bring you the headlines there. Right, so our top story, Kwame Eugene Kidi others thrill families at Vital Joy FM party in the park. And we brought you that during our news. And in other news, soldiers asked to be mindful of duty to nation. And you have MTN Ghana Foundation giving hampers to newborn babies at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Dag Howard Mills opens up on how his son's death hit him. Really sad there. And then the one that has been topical since yesterday, government includes individual bondholders in domestic debt exchange. Let me acknowledge the presence of Boku energy analyst here, energy expert here on the AM show. Good morning to you, Mr. Boku. Thanks for joining the program.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hope you are too. And hope the season is treating you well. Many happy returns.
Well, we did well with the Christmas. I'm live with you from Osekrum, Kumasi.
Oh, that's nice. How's Kumasi?
Kumasi as well. I mean, everybody seems to have fun with the Christmas, so I came to spend Christmas with the family.
That's a nice one. Right, let's just delve straight into the headlines. And the one I just highlighted, the inclusion of individual bondholders in the debt exchange program, the extension of the deadline. How did that news come to you? And what was your initial thought about it?
Well, it wasn't surprising when the TUC were threatening to go on strike, and everybody thought, look, I have been saying this from day one. Government is me and you. Everybody sitting at home watching us, everybody is government. When government has a problem, we all have a problem. It's unfortunate that when government, which is the people we've put in charge of our government machinery, are doing certain things that we tell them to stop, and they don't. But when there's a problem, we all have to do burden sharing. Now, if there is a set amount that government need to get off its books to make government solvent, to make government hard liquid, to get liquidity, okay? And the TUC, who government spends 33% of its total revenue, almost about 33%, almost 50% of its total revenue to pay salaries to, says that, look, if you don't take our pensions out of it, we're going to go on strike. And government concedes that some pension funds will be excluded from the debt exchange. What it means is that we still need to get a certain amount of debt off our books. That is why now they have to now look for alternative ways to include private bondholders.
Interesting. You talk about government being you and I, everyone inclusive. Do you also share in the view of those who say that this government has been very adamant when it comes to listening to the views of the people?
Yes, that's what I said in my submission. It's unfortunate that we've had successive governments that don't listen to its people. When we elect them and we swear them in and they become the executive arm of the country, they do not listen. They think that, look, you've given me the power, listen to what I'm doing. By the end of 4 years, vote me in or vote me out. But we've come to the realization that if halfway through there is a problem, then the government will come to me and you, who are the government, to do the burden sharing, which now becomes a bit unfortunate for the Ghanaians who told you in the first place that stop this or stop that. Time and time again, civil society, TUC, have always voiced out certain things that government should not do. But government still goes ahead and does it. But that's the realization that we have now, whereby we are having to do burden sharing, where, like I said, initially, pension funds were seen as, okay, I have said that, look, everybody going to go on pension will get their pension. There's nobody that's going to get a haircut in terms of when you go to collect your pension, the pension fund will tell you that, oh, because government did debt exchange, you are not going to get your money. That is not going to happen. Because if you look at the total money in the pension pot, okay, there's enough in there to pay, to do pension payments every year. And government is only saying that I'm not paying interest in 2023. Okay, so I didn't see what was the problem, but obviously government started with TUC to avert the strike. They considered to take out pension fund money. Pension fund money. What it means is that we need to find alternative ways to make up that money that we need to get off our debt for government to be solvent going forward.
Do you have any concerns about the potential of these modifications to our desire, or government's desire, to achieve board-level agreement with the IMF by first quarter of 2023?
Well, it's becoming a concern now that we've shifted it to January 16th, because if we could have got it done by 30th, then we could actually go to the IMF and probably get it done by the end of January, because that is one of the conditions that condition precedents that had to be achieved before we go to the board to get approval. Now that we don't know what the individual bondholders, because it's difficult to deal with individual bondholders than it is to deal with the pensions as it was made, because that one, it wasn't individuals that were being dealt with, it was a pension fund, and then the pension fund managers will negotiate with government and etc. Now we have to go and deal with individual bondholders. I don't know what their position will be, but it's interesting times ahead. What everybody should remember is that this thing will come at a dire consequence to all of us. I don't appreciate it. I'm 100% against it, but that is where we tend to find ourselves. So now that we have the problem, we need to find a collective solution. That is where my stance is now, because if we go into 2023, bear in mind we don't have Eurobond, we don't have any inflows coming in between the first half of the year. If we do not conclude the IMF negotiation in time for us to get some of the 3 billion to come in to cushion us, we might have some tough time ahead of us.
Interesting. So let's go back onto myjoyonline.com to pick up other headlines. There's this really interesting one by the NPP's General Secretary. Will reshuffle any appointee who doesn't work hard. Mind you, he is not a member of government. He is a member of the governing party. Isn't it interesting that this is coming from him? And we know how, sadly, people have tried to convince the president to try and reshuffle. This is the first time in recent history that we've had ministers stay on for this long without a reshuffle, even when his own members of parliament went hard on the finance minister. The president didn't seem to budge. What are your quick thoughts on these?
Well, it was interesting to hear my brother Justin Kodia make that statement. Well, maybe he knows something that we don't know. But then if he goes on to say that, look, what Justin said is the normal phenomenon. When appointees don't perform, they should be removed. Look, in 2017, we had a ministry called Osakoto's ministry. It was called the Monitoring and Evaluation.
Yeah.
Okay? And we all felt that, wow, for the first time, we are going to have a minister who is monitoring and evaluating government appointees. And if in 2 years or 3 years we have found that you are not doing your work, you get a sack. Now, what happened sadly is that in 2021, the Evaluation and Monitoring Ministry itself got a sack, not other people who are not doing well. You understand? So, look, it's unfortunate we are here. I have said that Boku can pen down 6 ministers who, by no fault of their own, but with age, should not be ministers.
Who are these?
There are some. I'm not going to put people up on the air like that. They are not here to defend themselves. But there are about 6 ministers who, because of age, should be at home.
No, but Kojo, I mean, Mr. Boku, you're not challenging their credibility. It's not based on merit, it's based on age. So I don't think that we need them here to respond.
I mean, if you know who the list of ministers are, you know who the aged are. I mean, I don't have to tell you who the aged ministers are. Look, I've said that the work of Ghana is not for the air conditioning and the comfy chairs in their offices. It's for you to be out there doing the work for Ghanaians. And if I see some of the aged ministers, they can't do the work that is necessary. Some of them don't even go to the ministry because they are always ill. Okay, so for me, I don't see what they are still doing as ministers. So there are some that are always campaigning, those we know. I mean, the agri minister is always out campaigning. Alain Chamartin wants to be president, so he's also most of the time campaigning. And those should have come out of the government a long time ago. That will give a concentration. We face this tough times. Look, we are in a dire situation, and we need all hands on deck. We can't have any minister who is not well most of the time. You can't have any minister who is spending half of his time talking to delegates and campaigning. We can't have ministers who are distracted. We need to work for Ghana. Somebody called me and said, Mr. Boku, there's a reshuffle coming up. If the president mentioned your name, I said, I won't go, because I have said to myself that I want to do this presidential race then. Why would I go into government and then still be distracted trying to go to the presidential primaries? It doesn't, you are not serving Ghanaians, you are serving yourself. So for me, it's unfortunate that what Justin said should be the norm. Unperforming ministers or government appointees should be taken out and be reshuffled. Unfortunately, we are not seeing that.
You won't mention non-performing ministers, but do you have any 3 top ministers you think are doing a great job?
No, I won't do that either, because I honestly, look, I think that some square pegs are in round holes. Okay, I have issues with a lot of ministry, and those I can tell you the ministries I have problems with. I have ministries with the communication ministry, okay, because I don't think our phone companies, the MTN, the Airtel, Tigos, and the Vodafones are doing Ghanaians any service. They are doing us a great disservice, and that space needs to be well regulated. I have taken issues with NCA, and I don't think the sector ministry is doing the work they're supposed to do. In that same ministry comes cybersecurity. In that same ministry comes quite a lot of things that I'm not happy with. The internet service in Ghana as we speak. When countries have 5G, we still have 2G in some parts of the country, which is unacceptable. And there's no roadmap to roll out all the 2Gs and the 3Gs to at least 4G. Okay, so I have a problem with the communication ministry. I have a problem with the health sector. Okay, interior ministry I have a problem with. So those are some of the sectors that I have problems with. But I mean, that's my personal opinion.
So what would you like to see with regards to this in the coming year? Do you expect to see something concrete?
Look, what all Ghanaians want to see, including myself, is injection of new blood, revitalization, innovation. I mean, if you've been in the office for 4 years and you come back for another 2 years, most likely ideas are done. We need new ideas. We need new people to come in and give a new shape, new hope. Governance is mostly perception, okay? And when you have perceived notion that certain things are not going well, you cannot put your hand on certain things. But if Ghanaians have the feel, have the belief that something is going to happen, then we perceive. Until that happens, it's a problem. And everybody, not only Kojo Boku is saying it, majority of Ghanaians feel that there should be a reshuffle. And I'm hoping that the president does that for us. He reshuffle for us, not for himself.
Well, you've spoken about your presidential ambition, so let me just bring this in. Next year is going to be quite heated in the build-up to the 2024 elections. Some parties will select their flag bearers and all. What are you looking forward to? What are your hopes for the coming year?
Well, I think the coming year is going to be a bit destructive. In the sense that, look, we need Parliament to be to focus and pass the bills and the laws to basically keep the country running. But parliamentarians who are seeking re-election have to basically be going to the constituencies to do their work. Then we have ministers who probably are looking at some ministers who are also parliamentarians that have to be re-elected. So they would also be distracted. Like I said earlier, the 2 ministers who have clearly stated, given their intention of running for the presidential election, should be made to step aside, which is Mr. Alain Chamartin and Akoto Afriyie. The president should make them step aside at the beginning of the year. Then ministers who also are MPs, they have to find a way to basically concentrate and give Ghanaians the best that they can. It's unfortunate that the constitution says that majority of our ministers have to come from parliament. So that one, there's not much we can do about that. You are going to have ministers who are going to be MPs who have to basically be rushing to the constituency to get the work done. In terms of campaigning, I honestly want campaigning basically rejuvenates the party, because all of us will be going to the base of the party and selling our messages and telling Ghanaians about the good work that the government has done. Where that we think we've gone wrong as a government, we'll apologize to the people that elected the government and basically reassure them that let's be forward-looking and see how best we can turn things around. But next year, we have a lot of challenges in the economy. The economy is not out of the woods yet. You look at the world economy in general, we have a lot of the developed nations going into recession, okay? Which means that anytime they are ahead of the curve, so their recession, when they are coming out, then developing nations also now enters into recession. And that's been the case for so many years. So if we are not careful, for now, we don't have a resilient economy. We are going to the IMF with that program. We basically working with the IMF through next year is going to make sure that we don't experience some or all the shocks that will come our way from what the external world economies would have. We don't see any rest or slowing down of the Ukraine-Russia war. So that is going to affect commodity prices, and that's going to affect a lot of things in the world market. So we are in for a choppy time in 2023. Just that I'm hoping that as a nation, we'll be able to do this political campaigning thing in 2023, and at the same time, keep our eye to make sure that we deliver the mandate that Ghanaians have given to the NPP government to roll to do.
Well, another story on My Joy Online, more praise for Parliament of its scrutiny of 2023 budget. The CDD has also lauded Parliament for rejecting the National Cathedral budget, among others. Are you impressed so far with the work in Parliament?
Again, that is the work they're supposed to be doing year on year. I don't know why this year everybody thinks that. Look, I have always said that parliamentary oversight is the biggest deficit we have in this country. We don't have a very good parliamentary oversight. I have had instances to go to select committees where agreements are being passed, and I have gone there and come out and be very disappointed because of the rate at which we pass some of these agreements. You have a situation like PDS, which I always refer to because I had a first-hand experience on how the PDS agreement was passed. It was a very bulky 3 agreements, and within 2 hours, it was passed through the to the select committee, okay? Then went through plenary. We've seen instances where loan agreement or government something has come in, and within 48 hours, it's been passed. Now, all these things are being passed with the same MPs who are there today. And today, they are coming to tell us that, oh, we should clap for them because they have now put government projects on hold. Oh, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. That is what you're supposed to do. You coming to tell us, that's what we think you were doing. So it means that all along, you're not doing the work that you're supposed to do. We see the NDC put a whole list of things that they claim they've stopped the government from doing. And I'm thinking, what? Why are you now doing a list? Every year, you should be coming to tell Ghanaians that, giving us that same list. It shouldn't be that this time around is when government is now the opposition is all of a sudden championing certain things. There should be checks and balances. That's why we have a minority and majority. It's not all the things that, even people in majority, it's not all the things that they should agree with government on. And this year, we seem to have that, where we have some section of the majority coming out to voice some parts of government policy that they are not happy with. It's a good thing. It's healthy for democracy. The essence of democracy is checks and balances. We need the minority to be steadfast and do what they are doing, but not only this year, but continue doing it. Then our brothers in MPP will also learn, say, whenever there happen to be an NDC government, we will have the minority at that time, whoever the party is, be it MPP or NDC, will be able to now do that and check the government in power. We need that checks and balances in Parliament.
Interesting, but considering the fact that it's quite close in terms of numbers between the majority and the minority side, and the what we've seen over the years. Would you say that this is just a one-off, considering the numbers, or Parliament is growing to the point where it's moving away from the rubber stamp that we know it to be?
It should grow away from. I'm not saying that it is doing that. Yes, even though it's close, 134, 134, or is it 137, 137? It's close, but still, we are not seeing the difference. You understand? In 2020, when we came into this parliament with more like, what do you call a hang parliament, okay, where the casting vote is the MP for the independent MP, okay, we would have thought that most of government policies that was very contentious, and some of the things that government has taken to parliament that was contentious, would have seen a bit more debate, rigorous approval process. But we've not seen that. It's just this time that, like I said, we are being given a list and we are seeing that the minority has been able to stop certain things happening. And I applaud them, but I think that it should be a continuous process, and it's something that they should have been doing in the past. It shouldn't be anything new.
Right. So while we're enjoying the season, you said you're home with your family because it's Christmas. There are many other people who are having fun. Unfortunately for residents of Boku, it's not so exciting. There have been recent incidents of violence, and the death toll now is about 18 people dead. Some of the stories we've heard are just unbelievable, where people who are seen to be clad in military uniform walk into homes and just shoot at people and kill them. This has been long running. I'm told the IGP was in the area about 3 months ago talking to the factions, trying to get them to resolve the issue. But this is where we are. Also, there are those who believe that there could be criminals and persons associated with terrorist groups taking advantage of the situation, seeing how Boku is close to our border with neighboring Burkina Faso. I don't know if you've been following that particular story.
Yeah, I'm a son of Boku, so I'm a son of Boku. Pusiga, my adopted mother is from Pusiga, so I'm a son of Boku. I follow Boku more intensely than anybody else.
Wow, that's an interesting revelation.
When you said in recent times, I'm surprised you are saying recent times. What is going on in Boku has been going on for far too long. Look,
but we saw a decline. We saw a decline in the violence, but there's a resurgence.
No, there wasn't a decline. The journalists look. What happened was that all the cameras and the journalists stopped covering Boku. It's not that there's been a decline in anything going on in Boku. The Mampusi fight and the Kusasis fight in Boku has been going on, and in the recent past, just about a year, 6 months, whatever ago, it's got nothing to do with it stopped or went down. The only difference is that the cameras left. The journalists stopped covering it. Today you brought it up and you're saying it's recent. No,
I didn't just bring it up today. We've been discussing it for the past weeks and a few months.
More people die in Boku on a daily basis than anywhere in the country. That's why there's a curfew. People have been stopped from wearing smokes in Boku. Okay? When, like I was telling you, I was supposed to go to Boku. And some of the family members and the friends I have there told me that Kojo, it's not safe to come to Boku, so let's meet in either Boga or maybe in, what's that place called? There is an adjacent town not far from Boku. Okay? But we met in Boga. Is that bad? Okay? Okay, they wanted us to meet in Binduri, either meet in Binduri or meet in Boga. But we met in Boga. The issue in Boku has never gone down. But like I said, journalists are not highlighting enough. So it's a very sad situation where now it's gotten to the point where the rich and powerful within the community are influencing and brainwashing the youth to see their own brothers, cousins as enemies. I don't see how anybody tolerates that in a country. So, look, there was the problem in Yendi. through the Otumfor and the leadership of the president, we were able to basically solve the Yendi problem. I think the Boku problem should not be pushed to the back burner in 2023. I think all hands on deck, the president, all the chiefs of this country should really go into Boku and resolve this problem. It is no longer about the kids. It's about the older, powerful, and influential people from that area who are behind all these things. And it's very sad.
And what's in it for them? Is it arms selling?
It's historical.
Yeah, but
the Boku issue is historical. You know, I'll tell you, in 2003, you know, in 2001, in 2000, Madam Hawa Yakubu, who was my adopted mother, won the seat in Boku. Now, that fight, like I said, is generational. It's been going on for a very long time.
Right.
So one group of people supported her in her bid to win in 2020, and she became the MP and minister. So in her heart, she felt that she needs to resolve this problem within her reign. And if any time that this thing is going to go away, it's going to go away when she's MP of the area. And that time, there was no Pusika seat. There was only Boku Central. So she was the MP for Boku Central. Then, along the line, she had meetings with various groups of people trying to resolve and bring this fight to a close, or this friction between the tribal individuals. Then one group who did not support her, that she was having a meeting with, the other group now said that, but we supported you to come to power. Instead of for you to make our lives better, you're having meetings with our opponents who did not support you. And her reason was that I want there to be one family. Okay? Now, she lost 2024, mainly because then the
2020 or 2024? 2004?
Sorry, 2004. She lost 2004. Sorry. 2004, she lost because then her competitor, Hassan Ayariga, in Boku Central, basically came in and was supported by one faction against her, and she lost. But from that time, there hasn't been peace. And there was not peace because there was a time when her house was actually burnt down during election, which was the one that she lost in 96. In 96, her house was burnt down. So the violence in Boku has been going on for time immemorial. And various people have tried it. Excellency J. tried all his best to solve this problem. Going forward, I think that, like I said, in 2023, we should try our best to do what? Put the Boku issue front and center. The journalists should put the cameras there every day so nobody forgets about what's going on with the poor people of Boku.
Finally, Mr. Boku, the Ghana Police Service has come out with a directive. It calls it a reminder to prophets about 31st night prophecies, and is cautioning them on how to communicate that so that they don't breed fear and panic in the country. I don't know what you think about that. Later in the show, we'll be getting the views of our audience on what they make of that. I remember there were very mixed reactions to this the first time it happened last year. Though some sects of the Christian faith were very upset, saying that you cannot control what prophets say. They cite biblical examples of how prophets in the Old Testament, who were actually governmental prophets, who went to the kings to tell them this and that and that, and ABC and that and that. And they say that you can't restrict people's faith. But there are those who also of the Christian faith who agree with the IGP, and they say, look, it's about time we stop some of these things. Just your quick thoughts as we wrap up, looking forward to the end of the year.
You know what? My point is very simple. Sorry. My point is very simple. We seem to be in a country where, for me, it's very unfortunate that we are having to have authorities come in and talk about religion. I have always said, when people say that, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, politics and religion have always been cousins. If you go back in history, one has always piggybacked off the one back. One has always piggybacked off the other from time immemorial, where there were times when the politicians were the head of the church, okay?
Right.
So they controlled what you say and they controlled what you do with one voice because they were the two in one. We now have a situation where we've had separation of powers, where there are men of God and there are politicians, where the two of them are no longer the same people. But the state is responsible for the well-being of the people. And when it says the well-being of the people, it encompasses a lot of things. It can be social, it can be mental, it can be just basically having to live peacefully. When we have people who claim to be prophets, okay, saying all sorts of things that causes fear and panic, then it's not healthy for the society that we live in. So somebody will come in and say that, oh, this person is going to pass, this person is going to do this person is going to do this. I think the only person who should be allowed to make prophecy is the person who saw COVID-19 coming. If you did not see COVID-19 come, you can't make any prophecy because you are not a prophet. Okay? Because COVID-19 is the biggest disaster that hit the church. The church went a whole year without being able to collect collection. So their pockets were quite dry. So if you couldn't predict that, you couldn't prophesy in COVID-19, don't come and waste our time. But it's unfortunate. We are not saying that there isn't men of God who are gifted. There are men of God who are gifted. There are men of God who can see in the space that some of us don't see. But in that same gift, there is also the way that they go about it. Men of God who are gifted, the prophecy has always been that whenever there's a prophecy, there's always be somebody else to also do what? Find a way around it. So if you can prophesy that I'm going to die, but you can't do anything about how I'm going to die, then what's the point?
And maybe for you to prepare your home, it's biblical. Put your home in order.
We read the Bible. We all read the Bible, right? We know God doesn't operate like that. Okay? Anytime there's been one side, there's another side. So if there is a prophecy, there should be somebody that could see what is about to happen and avert it. It can't just be a one-way street where you just tell me that, oh, as you're going to see Bernice at Joy FM, you're going to have a car accident. Then you can't tell me that if I don't go, but you just tell me that. You know, it doesn't make sense. So for me, look, the long story short is that they should really stop it. I don't think they will stop, but it's very unhealthy for the society. You don't hear this going on in Europe. You don't hear this going on in developed nations. People are trying to think when they are going to Mars. People are thinking of when there's going to be a next moon landing. People are thinking of how they're going to use AI to control certain things in their community and environment. We are busy thinking about a prophecy that will not bring any prosperity to the country. What they should prophesy is tell us how Ghana is going to get out of this mess we are in. How the president, what they can tell the president to do to get us out of IMF quicker than the years that we are supposed to be there. That is what will help the country, not all the things they talk about.
I appreciate your time here this morning, and we appreciate that you could join us almost every Tuesday morning to do this with us from the entire team.
Yes, greetings from Osekrum. You have a very big fan. He watches you and Ben all the time. He's a young guy in Sunyani. He's a young boy, but he stays up early morning. His name is Eugene Bennett. He watches you guys every morning, and tell Ben that he was supposed to do a kids show, and Eugene was going to be one of his favorite fans on that show. He stays up every morning to make sure he watches the show. Thank
you so much, Eugene, and thank you for letting us know. We'll try and meet Eugene one of these days, and I'll remind Ben.
Anytime you guys happen to be in Sunyani, ask for Eugene Bennett, and everybody will show you. He's a very popular guy there.
All right, we will. Thank you so much, Kojo. And I'll love to everyone in Osekrum, and thank you so much for doing this with us every morning. Wish you a very Merry Christmas, and I'll love to your family as well. Well, it's now time for AM Sports. Do stay with us. We've got a lot of exciting content for you.